What is going on, superstar, and welcome to week 8. Super duper excited to be dropping some knowledge on you today. And this week we're going to be focusing on why we need to eat more to lose more. So what I'm going to be doing is dropping for you some epic insight. We're going to be using the iPad today, and it's just going to help you to illustrate the importance of why you shouldn't be fearing food, because it is so ridiculously common where women and men worldwide seem to think that you need to eat next to nothing to drop weight, and this is where you think and you see of all these 1200 calorie diets and the like coming about, like Michelle Bridges and all these other ones, and all well and good for the short term, but for those of us who are looking for long-term sustainable results and want to take complete ownership of being able to manipulate our body composition, well, this is something where you really need to gain some insight as to why your goal should be how can I eat as much as possible to trigger the results that I want. So let's kick off with some iPad action and yeah, give you guys some really good insight. Got my magic wand of the iPad pencil here, iPencil, and yeah, time to get into it. So what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to kick off with, we're going to be doing a graph, okay? Because I find that graphs are really cool. Reminds me of good old school, so it does. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go intake representing calories, that sort of thing, and on the right we've got time. So let's say that we've got these little different sections over here on the left, and these represent intake of calories by 100 or so or whatever. And let's say that where someone usually starts is let's use green. Let's say that someone usually starts over here and they kick off their journey, and they might be starting off at 1200, right? Now this is all well and good, right? Because what's going to happen here is that you will see initial results, all right? And this is obviously because of the fact that you might have been in the past eating lots of processed food and whatever else, and naturally this drop in intake and overall fuel is going to cause a response in the body that will cause it to basically go, whoa, snap, what's going on here? This is just throwing our thermodynamics right out of whack, and therefore give it a reason to let go of some of what it's holding on to. But what you're going to see is that when it comes to an intake like that, basically what's going to happen is your body is then in a state where it sort of is like, well, warning bells, wow. Remember that our bodies are built for survival, and it doesn't give a fuck about your goals. It just wants to survive and stay comfortable. What your body's natural response here is to basically go, right, well, how can we conserve and stay safe here? So it's going to let go of what's holding it on to, what's costing it most. Which in this sort of case, when someone's dropping their intake like that, you're going to find that the longer that you stick to an intake like that, the more muscle that you're actually going to start letting go of, and a little bit of water and stuff like that, but only a very minuscule amount of fat. And remember that why this is because, well, fat is basically free tissue. It's mass that doesn't require the body any energy whatsoever to keep a hold of, whereas muscle is something that's active and metabolically active, hence why those who have got more muscle are going to have a higher metabolic rate compared to those that don't, because obviously you burn more energy at rest. So let's keep it this. So we've got a kickoff there. Time is going along. Let's say we'll call this bit here kickoff. All right. And let's say that you stick to that for maybe a couple of weeks, and you're seeing results. Maybe you drop 2 kilos right away, and then you might have continued on and you're at 600 grams to a kilo a week, and then all of a sudden a plateau comes along. And naturally what seems to happen for people is they think, right, well, because that happened, now what I need to do is I need to drop my intake. So here's where what's now happening is, let's say that the drop might be, like from what I see as average, let's say that we're now at about 1,000, and with that will come more restriction as well. Restriction in the means of, like, well, this is where you're going to see people start to really get rid of their carb sources that they like. They're going to start reducing their fat sources. They're now basically starting to experience what it's like to live a life of restriction, and are on what I call poverty intake calories. Now we're at 1,000, right? All well and good. I reckon if I really put my mind to it, I could probably still be fairly satiated and survive on 1,000 calories. What I'd probably do is just not eat breakfast, have a light lunch of like just a nice solid salad, and devote probably 300 calories to it there. Maybe some sort of really light smoothie and stuff in the afternoon, a bit of fruit, and then, you know, similar sort of thing to lunch for dinner, and then maybe just some fruit and some jelly for dessert. But obviously something like this isn't sustainable, because obviously this is us chasing the holy grail of results and moving forward to get results. Yes, of course, you'll start to see some weight lost even more from eating at that sort of amount. And this is usually where, because it's quite difficult to be able to sustain, trying to get protein and stuff like that with an intake like that, this is where I typically see people get amongst Herbalife and things like that for meal replacement shakes and isogenics to be able to help out, which is all well and good. But once again, remember that, well, where this is basically going is that if we start to move along further, the only way that the person can continue to see results is by reducing their intake. So now if we look at that, as you can see, we are now at probably, actually I should probably make that a bit lower. We're now going to be at probably about, well, if we do the math there, I'd probably say that the person would be on, and you can probably think about this in the past for yourself, whether you've tracked calories or not. We're now at about 800. And as you can see, the only way for the person to move forward is to continue to drop their intake. And then what I see happen is that this person becomes a bit of a ticking time bomb for how long they're going to be able to last with sticking to this sort of intake, let alone being consistent with tracking and sticking to their original regime, right? Because obviously, well, what this person's basically done is dug a hole for themselves through just digging themselves into a realm of restriction. And this is something that's so common, and you've probably done this in the past before. I know that I definitely have, right? Now, the thing is here, what you got to remember as well is that to be able to even lose any fat alone, right, like a pound of fat is 3,500 calories, all right? So what this means is that the only way that you're going to be able to give your body reason to be able to, let's just say equals pound of fat, okay? Just so that you guys can remember, pound of fat. Yeah, the only way that you're going to be able to give your body any reason to be able to drop some fat is to create a deficit, but not so much of an energy deficit where your body freaks out and starts to let go of muscle to be able to cater for what's happening. So this is where, let's say for example that, like when someone is over here at like, let's go for, well, I can't change to red for some reason. Let's go here, orange. Yeah, let's say that we're around this sort of zone, right? What's going to then happen is that, let's say that when you are up over here, you might have been burning maybe like let's say 600 calories per workout. You're lifting in the gym, you're going hard. Let's say that you might even be lifting 5 times a week, right? That means that you would be creating 6 times by 5 is 3,000. Yeah, 3,000 calorie deficit through your exercise alone, which is pretty solid, meaning that as long as you and your nutrition is creating a 500 calorie per week deficit, well, rest assured you're going to be able to be losing some fat. But the thing here is that when we get to down here and someone's energy intake is starting to reduce, guess what's going to happen to the person's training? You're going to feel very tired, and therefore you're probably going to now be burning maybe about 300 or so calories per session as opposed to the previous 500. Now if you do the math there, that means that you've lost 200 calories worth of burned energy per session. Multiply that by 6 workouts, that's 1,200 calories that you're now missing out on, because of the fact that your intake is next to nothing. So hopefully what you can see here is that when people are taking the conventional path, in terms of just low intake and just going straight to 1,200 or that sort of way of thinking, yeah, it's all well and good. It can deliver quick results at the start, but then the thing is, as you can imagine, is that as soon as you then like you've hit here and you become that ticking time bomb, right? What's going to then happen is that you're probably going to then go, well, fuck it, I can't do this, probably have a bit of a binge. And then what's going to happen is that your weight's obviously going to go straight up, and then naturally, obviously, when you get to a point where you feel really shit again, then what's going to happen is that you'll come to back here again to start, and the cycle just continues, and you're going to find yourself in a bit of an infinite loop. Okay, and this is so common. This is very, very, very common of, you know, the infinite loop. We'll call it the infinite yo-yo loop, right? This is just what certain people find themselves in. So why we keep our intake so high, and it's quite rare that I'll actually work with someone where we start with their intake anything less than 1800, is because what that then means is, because you've got that much fuel, right, is that you have got that much energy that you're able to lift so much more and have so much more strength and endeavor and fitness about you, that you create so much of a strong deficit through your training that we don't actually really need to reduce your intake too much. So what kind of happens is that we might start up here, right, at 1800, right, and then our drops are that small because of how much of a deficit you're creating with your training anyway, that we might then see that 1750, right, and you can see that our drop, like when you finish up, you might get to your goal physique and stuff like that, and you might be down at like maybe what, hey, 1400 or something like that. But as you can see, that's still more than old mate that's starting over here, right? So all this is that the whole goal to be able to eat more, to lose more, right, is to basically ensure that it's setting you up to be able to ensure that you can be creating a calorie deficit long into the future. And then once you do hit your desired weight goal, what's probably going to happen, and I imagine this is going to happen for you within this journey as well, is that you're going to hit your desired weight and you're like, fuck yeah, awesome, I got there, happy days, and we'll celebrate the shit out of you doing so. But then what's actually going to happen is that we'll get to that stage, and then you're probably going to go, right, well, I want to work on this, this, and this now, aka start adding some more lean muscle to your frame, and thus gets you into a stage in a cycle where you will be able to be in the top percentile of basically the percentage of people in this world that are able to manipulate their body composition, meaning you understand what's required to be able to lose body fat, what's required to be able to maintain. And you know, let's say for example that your goal is to then maintain, and you were at 1400, well then to maintain at that sort of weight, you're probably going to be eating up at about 2000 maybe, give or take, because the goal is to then maintain. But then naturally, when your goal then becomes to gain some more muscle about you, and your intake's going to cruise up even more. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully it's been insightful and just really solid to be able to just reinstill within you why it's so important that we eat a lot of food to be able to lose fat rather than eat next to nothing like what you've seen here, and why I hate low calorie diets like that so much. So what I'd love for you to do is just to re-watch through this again if you need to make sure it's sunk in, and then go and jump into the Facebook group, share with us your biggest wins and your biggest learnings and aha moments that you've had from watching this. And yeah, I'll see you next week for our next content video then. Catch you, superstar.